Hi, I'm Charlotte and I have been doing online book related stuff on the internet for about a decade now, mostly within young adult publishing. I decided a few years ago to focus primarily on LGBTQ+ and diverse literature, mostly sort of young adult literature, because it's just one of my biggest beliefs that getting diverse books and media into the hands of young people is one of the most essential things to helping them see themselves represented and to feel seen. So that's kind of become a big mission of mine. So in 2021, I started working as a secondary school librarian, kind of partially in my role. So that's with children age 11 to 16 in my school. And I also have helped for the past couple of years run our school, our sort of student-led Inclusivity Alliance, which is our pride group. So supporting LGBTQ+ youth is really important to me. I've done a lot of work in the past year or so with the UK charity Just Like Us, and they actually awarded our pride group of the year last year, which is really cool. So yeah, my goal is always to dedicate a lot of my time to queer advocacy and education and just helping young people feel more represented. I haven't had the most linear journey with my own identity, and at 30, I've recently turned 30, it still feels like it's not set in stone, but I've kind of learned to accept that, and that's been a big part of my kind of journey to my own identity, is learning to accept that it's not going to be set in stone and it can change. I knew from maybe early secondary school that I wasn't straight, even if I didn't really know what that meant at the time. So I started secondary school in 2006, so that was only 3 years after Section 28 was repealed. So Section 28, if you don't know, is a piece of legislation in the UK that banned the promotion of homosexuality in schools, and it couldn't be talked about in schools at all. Teachers could have been fired for even talking about homosexuality, promoting it, as the legislation said. And this was only repealed in 2003 in England and Wales. I think not long after in Scotland. So yeah, it just wasn't talked about when I was in school. When I started when I was 11 in 2006, I still kind of felt like we were living under the shadow of that. And also the internet wasn't a really big thing in 2006 yet either. So those incredible online communities that we have today just didn't exist. So it was a bit of a kind of trying to figure it out yourself, and it wasn't really a big thing for me to try and figure it out at that point, just because it wasn't talked about as it is today. So I came out as bisexual then, around 17, by sending a Google chat message to my mum, and my family have always been incredible. They've always been really supportive. I've been really lucky with that. I work with a lot of pupils who their families aren't so supportive. So for me, I've always been lucky to have that supportive family and a great group of friends. But it wasn't until I went to university and I joined the LGBTQ+ society, where I started to meet a lot more people like me. And when I moved into student houses, my straight friends were actually the minority. So it was a really cool place to be and to figure myself out among people who were like me, and we could have these discussions, and it was a really great place to sort of figure myself out. And it was when I was in university that I realised that I was asexual as well. So this was another thing to add to just sort of the things to try and figure out in my brain. So over the last few years, I came to the realisation that I am gay and not bisexual, and labels are still a thing that have been not really a thing that I've tried to figure out. I've kind of just accepted this is how I feel, and I don't really need to attach a label to that. And it's still been a journey, so I still have times when I'm not actually sure. I'm still now at 30. I still feel like I have moments where I'm just like, what am I though? I don't know. But I now live with my partner, who is a woman, and we've been together for around 2 years, and she's also ace, so it's worked out really well, and it's got to a point where it doesn't matter so much to have to fit myself into a certain box. So what does Lesbian Visibility Day mean to me, and why is it important to celebrate or acknowledge it? I know there's a joke, I say joke very loosely here, about how there has to be a day for everything, but I think it's genuinely important to spotlight different types of identities and the people who work hard to advocate for those communities. Days like this are about being visible, they're about being seen and heard, and about making sure that those people who are quietly contemplating their own identities know that it's okay and that there's a support system out there for when they're ready to emerge, or whether they're not ever ready. It's kind of telling them that they're fine, but the support is there if they ever feel like they're ready to emerge in the world, and sort of tell people that this is what they are. So every time there's an awareness day for something, whether it's Lesbian Visibility Day, trans visibility, mental health, neurodivergence, or anything else like that, the kids that I work with get really excited, and it gives them a chance to share more about themselves, to sort of tell people, this is who I am and I'm really proud of this, kind of really proud of this part of myself, and it gives them and us a chance to educate those people who don't know about that particular identity, or for people to spend time thinking about either their own feelings, if it's sort of brought up something where they're like, wait, this kind of resonates with me, or for people to spend time thinking about how they can be there for their peers who might need a bit of support to come out or to quietly accept this part of themselves. Education and visibility, I think, is the first and possibly most important step of advocacy and making the world feel just a little bit safer. And particularly right now, when things don't feel completely safe for LGBTQ plus people, awareness days like this are just a small step in helping people feel safer within themselves, or to make other people help make their spaces feel safer for other people. So if I had to go back and tell a younger version of myself that things are okay and things get better, I don't think I would need to go as far back as secondary school, because I don't think that relationships and sexuality really mattered to me so much when I was really young. It was when I was in university when these things really started to matter, and I had my first relationship, so I started to think about these things a lot more, and my asexuality was a big thing that I started questioning a lot as well, and how it affected relationships. So I would go back to the point when I was in university, and maybe even after I graduated, and tell myself to stop putting so much damn pressure on myself to fit into a neat box, because not everyone does, and that's okay. And some people know themselves and their identity for certain, and that's amazing, but some people take a little bit longer, or it stays fluid for a long time, and that's great too. I think fitting yourself into a particular label or within a specific box can be really strengthening for some people. For some people, attaching the word lesbian to themselves is the strongest thing that they can do, and it makes themselves feel really powerful, being like, I'm a lesbian and that's what I am. I haven't reached that stage yet, even at 30. Like, I'm still lesbian still is a word that I don't necessarily attach to myself, but I'm learning to sort of maybe get there. But for some people, trying to attach a specific label to themselves can be a little bit more scary. So I would tell myself to allow myself to accept that things change, just allow things to change over time, not to worry so much about fitting myself into a certain box, because everything is going to be okay, and believe it or not, it does get better.